Hi everyone, it's Candace. I have a card technique that I want to show you today. It was popular several years ago. If you've been a card maker for many years, you may have made some of these cards. If you are new to the hobby, you may never have seen this technique. I was going through my cache of cards and noticed that I only had one left. I decided to make more so I wouldn't forget how to do it. Now, here's what I like about it. You know those beautiful two-sided papers you have? Well, the dilemma with them is that when you choose one side to use, you hide the other. But when you use this technique, you get to see both sides, and that's a plus in my book. This technique goes by a couple of names, a draped card or a skirt card technique. It's a pretty quick card to make, especially when you make multiple cards. The first thing I'm doing is getting a 4 by 5¼ inch panel. I'm using the polka dot embossing folder by Cuttlebug. This is an embossing machine by Sizzix. I could have used my Big Shot, but this little machine is handy to have and keep at my desk. I bought this several years ago at Joann. Michael's, Walmart's, and Scrapbook.com still carry them. It's not a necessary piece of equipment, but it's a handy one to have. You can see that it does a good job of embossing my panel. The next thing I'm going to do is stamp my greeting. I'm using a Hero Arts stamp set called Birthday Messages. I'm using this stamp that says, "Have a beautiful birthday." I'm putting my cardstock in the MISTI and double stamping the greeting. I get a nice dark image that way. I set my greeting aside and I get out my designer paper. You can see that it's printed on both sides. I get my scoreboard and I score the designer paper at 3, 3½, 5, and 6 1/8 inches. This paper is 7 3/4 inches long and 3 inches high. Now I'm laying this on my board and I'm going to mark this on the short side at 1½ inches down and on the long side at 3 inches. The 3-inch mark is right at the first crease. Now I get my paper trimmer and I angle this strip of paper and lay it at the 1½ mark and at the 3-inch mark. If you don't cut it exactly on the mark, that's all right. It's still going to look good. Starting at the first crease, I do a valley fold, and then I do a mountain, and then a valley, and a mountain. See how quickly that happened? To hold these creases down, I'm using glue dots. These are medium-sized ones and are very sticky. To be honest, they gave me a bit of trouble. On subsequent cards, I use some glue dots made by a brand called Craft. They roll out similarly to a tape runner, and it was much more efficient. I sped this portion up because you don't need to see me struggle here. I get my panel and I'm going to adhere the skirt to it. When I do, I will overlap a little on each side. If I don't, I risk cutting into one of the folds on the right. I put tape all over the back and stick the skirt to the front. Then I cut the overlaps off each side. The next thing I want to do is put a ribbon across the top of the skirt. You can use twine or a paper strip if you want. I have a package of 20 or so rolls of different colored ribbon that I purchased at Michael's several years ago. I'm not really someone who often adds ribbon to my cards, but these rolls have adhesive on the back, and so they're perfect for this project. I put the ribbon at the top of the skirt and adhere it to the back of the panel. Now I adhere the panel to the card base. The color is called Apple Mint and it's from Gina K Designs. I'm opening up my card to make sure that I adhere it to the correct side. I try to remember to do this every time because I've been known to stick my panel to the base, only to find that I've stuck it to the wrong side. I get the greeting, and I'm going to use the 5th smallest of the infinity die circles from Hero Arts. I'm just going to take it over to my Big Shot and cut it out. This pattern paper was originally 12 by 12 inches, so when I cut down the paper to 7 3/4 by 3 inches, I had this little strip left over. I take a 2 3/8 inch scallop punch and punch out the scallop. When I adhere the greeting to the scallop, I want to make sure that the stripes are up and down to match the vertical stripes peeking out on the skirt. Because of the folds, in order to adhere the greeting to the card, I have to use the tape runner on part of it and some dimensional dots to the other. That way it will lay flat. There we have it. The card is finished. Let me show you a couple of others that I did. Here's the original one. I didn't have any embossing on it, so I thought it looked a little plain, but still pretty. I'll probably go back and add something to it later. Here's another one I did with this beautiful paper for the skirt. I used You Are Loved for the greeting. This card I made has a butterfly pattern to the front and a solid red on the back. I added some glittery butterflies to it. You can't see the one on top. Sorry. I had an extra butterfly left over, and since this paper has flowerets on it, I thought it would look good either on the greeting or on the top. I put it on the top. So there it is, the skirt or draped card technique that allows you to see both sides of your pretty two-sided pattern papers. I hope you enjoyed this video. Come on back. Bye now.